For the longest time, I didn't like the LNER Pacifics designed, or rebuilt, under Edward Thompson, but that opinion has since changed. Indeed, I've now got Hornby models of the A2-2 and A2-3 in my collection. Today, we're looking at the first Thompson Pacific ever modelled for TS Classic, the one-off A1-1 class, brought to the game by Caledonia Works. As always, I am not sponsored by the developer, and I bought this add-on with my own money. But first, a brief history on the real A1-1. She was originally built in 1922, as the very first example of Sir Nigel Gresley's A1 class. Another 51 examples of the class would be built, and all of them, except Great Northern, would later be modified and redesignated as A3, skipping over A2 because that designation was already taken by Raven's Pacifics. While we do have the A3 class in TS, we haven't got the original condition A1 yet, but it is on CW's list of future DLC. In any case, the class leader, number 4470, originally 1470, was named Great Northern after the Great Northern Railway, which became part of the London and North Eastern Railway in 1923. 22 years later, in September 1945, Great Northern was rebuilt as the prototype for Edward Thompson's new A1 class, which he planned as one of his standard locomotive types for the LNER. For context, Thompson had succeeded Gresley as the LNER's chief mechanical engineer in 1941, following Gresley's passing. As for why 4470 was chosen, it's because she was the oldest member of her class and already in need of an overhaul anyway, so it was expedient to choose her for rebuilding instead of a classmate. Not much of the original locomotive was left after rebuilding, but she did retain her identity as 4470 Great Northern. As for any notable features on the rebuilt locomotive, these included 3 sets of Walschaerts valve gear, one for each cylinder, and the use of a boiler and frames that were the same type as, or very similar to, those on the A4 class. Indeed, the rebuilt Great Northern was essentially the final development of the A4. As for the outside cylinders being positioned behind the front bogie, this was a distinctive feature of Thompson's Pacifics, and I think it was due to the middle cylinder connecting to the forward driving axle. The rebuilt Great Northern would later be renumbered as 113, then 60113 under British Railways. She was used extensively on East Coast Main Line passenger services, to the point where she clocked up the highest mileage of any Thompson Pacific. She kept going until November 1962, when she was withdrawn from service due to a badly worn-out cylinder. As controversial as her rebuilding was, I think it's a shame that Great Northern didn't survive into preservation. The A1-1 was released as a TS Classic add-on on the 16th of June 2025, and she's available to buy from Caledonia Works' website for £20, or $47.38 NZD, at full price. The last time I remember buying a new CW product at launch was back in March, when I got the Great Western Railway 1400 class 042 tank. Normally, I wait until a sale before picking up DLC for TS Classic, and Train Sim World 5 for that matter, but I was so curious to try out the A1-1 that I made a rare exception. This is not something I ever expected to see in TS Classic, be it from CW or any other developer. As for what's included in the pack, we'll start off with the liveries, as usual. The selection is as follows: LNER Royal Blue, 1945 to 1947, LNER post-war apple green, 1947 to 1948, British Railways transitional apple green, 1948 to 1950, BR express blue, 1950 to 1952, BR green with the late crest, 1953 to 1956, and BR green with the late crest, 1956 to 1962. In my opinion, the livery which stands out the most from that selection is LNER Royal Blue. This was the first livery worn by the post-rebuild Great Northern, and I'm not used to seeing such a dark shade of blue on an LNER Pacific. The A1/1 uses SimNation's Locomotion 2.0 scripting, and comes with the usual array of features that I've come to expect from a modern CW product. These include, but are not limited to, the fully detailed cab, auto fireman, although I always do manual firing myself, customizable lamp arrangement, controlled by pressing Control 1 through Control 4, fire intensity synchronized with the exhaust beat, as opposed to the street beat, the ability to toggle between simple and advanced driving modes by pressing Control A, and, as always, Performance Mode, which is toggled on or off by pressing Shift P. There's also a working automatic warning system on the BR Late Crest variant, although this doesn't mean much to me because I normally use Great Northern on routes that are not equipped with AWS. Seeing as the real Great Northern doesn't exist anymore, it's understandable for CW's recreation to use sounds that have already appeared in previous add-ons. For instance, the A1/1 uses the same LNER teapot whistle as the P1 and A3. I prefer the A4's chime whistle myself, but each to their own. As for the driving technique, this is pretty much the same as it is on the A3, albeit with the A1/1's ideal fire mass not being higher than 1,070 pounds, instead of 1,100 pounds, as marked on the F5 heads-up display, or around 50 and 51% if you're using the F4 HUD. In both cases, the ideal water level is between 70 and 90%, as marked on the F4 HUD, also known as Fisher-Price toolbar. All the recent CW products use the same driving technique, more or less. When you're stopped for a long time, you should have the cylinder cocks open by pressing C, and then press M to open the dampers. These can also be closed by pressing Shift M. To get moving, you'll need to release the brakes by pressing semicolon, wait until the needle hits 21 inches of mercury, wind the reverser to full forward gear by pressing W, and open the regulator to around 50% by pressing A. Once at 10 miles per hour, you'll need to shut the cylinder cocks and wind the reverser back from full forward gear to 20% cutoff by pressing S. Then keep on top of the regulator and reverser settings, not to mention the coal and water levels, as you're chuffing along the line. It's also worth mentioning that, if you're driving a newer CW engine in advanced mode, you'll also need to press E to engage or disengage the reverser lock, and press J to open or close the small ejector. This needs to be open in order to take the brakes off. While it's easy to get the hang of the driving technique if you've got enough CW engines in your collection, it can get a little boring, to be honest. The first time I tried driving Great Northern was on the 18th of June, and on that day, I tried her on a run from Esthwaite to Colton Vale, part of the Freeware Esthwaite branch route, which I downloaded from UK Train Sim years ago. It wasn't long before I realised that this engine is overpowered for humble branch line work, and since I was trying to keep to the speed limits this time, the safety valves were blowing off for just about the entire run. 6 days later, I thought I'd take the rebuilt Great Northern for an endurance test along part of the Western Lines of Scotland route, specifically the 29.9 mile long section from Castle Douglas to Newton Stewart, with 10 British Rail Mark II coaches on the drawbar. Incidentally, the Port Road appears in the video where I list off my favourite train simulator add-ons. I won't spoil where it lands on the list if you haven't seen the video yet. Even though the A1/1 is fairly powerful, she was slower to start than I was expecting, and it wasn't until around 5 minutes into the run when she finally got the heavy train up to line speed. She was doing 58 miles an hour by the time she hit the climb away from the Loch Ken viaduct, and despite what I was initially predicting, she actually gained an extra 4 miles an hour by the time she got to New Galloway, where P1 number 2394 was waiting to wish her well. With the coal and water levels frequently topped up, Great Northern performed well on the run to Newton Stewart, with the only hiccups being when she lost a little bit of speed on the steep climbs from Strone Viaduct to Loch Scarrow, and Brigwater of Fleet Viaduct to Gatehouse of Fleet Station. The latter is the steepest part of the run, at 1 in 60. I like the Castle Douglas to Newton Stewart section for its consistent up one hill and down the other side, rinse and repeat nature, which provides a good challenge for the bigger and more powerful locomotives. As for what Stan, the Black 5, is doing at Newton Stewart, your guess is as good as mine. At the end of the day, the LNER A1/1 Pacific is yet another high-quality product from Caledonia Works, not to mention another welcome addition to the developer's range of big LNER locomotives. Just for the heck of it, here's something from the complete opposite end of the spectrum, in the form of the tiny Y7 tank engine. You have no idea how many takes I had to do before I could finally get this little devil to stop in the right place. Going forward, I wouldn't mind seeing the other 3 Thompson Pacific classes in the game, be they from CW or someone else. If you're interested in trying the rebuilt Great Northern for yourself, I would recommend waiting for a sale and buying it then. As for a rating for this locomotive, I'd say she deserves an 8 out of 10.